Hey everyone, as always, hope you're doing well. So for those of you who are unaware, yesterday we got a pretty big reveal. That's that the original Mortal Kombat games up to MK4 are getting ported over to current platforms with online play and stuff like that. So they're going to be, pretty fun and pretty accessible now, which is something we've talked about quite a bit on this channel. And I made a video on that yesterday. If you aren't all up to date with that, so go check that out. I would really appreciate it, just in case you don't really know what this video is about. But there's a bit more information released by the PlayStation blog yesterday as well, but I didn't want to put a video out on the same day, so I'm going to be talking about it today. There's a few interesting things, and I'm not going to be reading the entire blog, but just pointing out the really important parts I am going to be reading from this blog, just so you don't have to sit there looking at it the entire time. I will have some gameplay going on in the background as well, but I will have it in the center just so you can see what I'm seeing. And there's some pretty exciting news in here, and there's a bit of speculation going on as well. So let's take a look here. So with multiple 90s and 2000s games from the early days of the groundbreaking fighting game series, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection will also provide a comprehensive, detailed look at the franchise's history ever assembled. So it looks like there's going to be a bit more content in this game than just the gameplay, and I am interested as to how it's going to be set up. Is it going to be like you have to install all of the games separately, sort of like the GTA Definitive Edition, how you buy it as one package but then all the games are separate? Or if it's going to be like the arcade collection from the 360, where it's like one application and then you click on it and then you can choose which of the games you want to play from that menu. They're all in one package. It'll be interesting to see. It then further goes to say, but we're not just stopping there. Many of the home versions of these games from vintage, oh god, I'm blind as hell, from 16-bit consoles, and yes, even handheld systems are also included, and the arcade and console games can all be played online with online net code. Sorry, I am so blind and I had to screenshot these on my phone, so I'm trying to read them as I record, and Jesus. Anyways, so yeah, there will be online play here, and you can play different versions, not just the arcade versions or specific console versions. You can also play, as I just said, 16-bit versions, SNES versions and stuff like that are available. So that's also, pretty interesting, pretty cool. There's a lot of different ways to play them, aside from MK4, which I think is just the arcade version, and not MK Gold, just the base MK4. Anyways, let's see if my vision is okay enough to read this. So this is what's included. Mortal Kombat, the original 1992, on the arcade, SNES, Genesis, Game Boy, Game Gear. Then we have Mortal Kombat 2, arcade, SNES, Genesis, Game Boy, and I'm too blind to read whatever that says. Mortal Kombat 3, arcade, SNES, Genesis. Ultimate is arcade, SNES. MK4, just the arcade. Then we have Advance from 2001, Game Boy Advance. Deadly Alliance from Game Boy Advance, and Tournament Edition Game Boy Advance. Then we have a question mark, or 3 question marks to be exact, and a lot of people are wondering what this is because it says what's next, and then it basically just says Mortal Kombat's all about secrets, so we hope you don't mind if we keep a few of our own. So it looks like here, obviously it's listed here as question marks, it looks like there's going to be more added here. Most people seem to think that it's going to be Trilogy, probably MK Gold, and then there's still one more to be filled, which still we don't know. A lot of people actually think it's going to be the 3D era games of Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon. What's interesting is in the trailer, there's a little snippet where it has question marks, but there's 4. And a lot of people that could represent Shaolin Monks, maybe even MK versus DC. They could be a part of this. I personally don't think so. I would like to be very optimistic about it, but it's probably just some older games, not the 3D era. They probably deserve their own sort of thing, but I won't complain if it is them. I hope it is, but it's looking like it's probably, Trilogy, maybe MK Gold. We'll just have to see. I hope I'm wrong. I really would like to see the 3D era games be brought through to current platforms because, like these games now, they're really hard to, play now. And it also says we're also doing a deep dive into the history of Mortal Kombat to find, design documents, early prototype materials, motion capture sessions, concept art, and much more. Some never before seen. You'll be able to stop through our interactive timelines as if you were walking through a Mortal Kombat museum, watching videos, playing games, viewing photo galleries, and more. as you travel through the early history of the franchise. Sorry if my reading is so slow. I'm really having to just stare right at my phone as I'm reading, so apologies if the voice gets louder here. But yeah, so as you can see, it feels like there's going to be a not a crypt mode, but like a mini collection mode where you can look at all this crazy stuff from, you know, the original games, as it says, in a concept art, motion capture studio, like sessions and stuff. There's quite a lot, you know, to see, like prototype materials, as it says. There's a lot going on there, so that's still pretty interesting, and I'm pretty excited to see that. There isn't all that much to delve into for this screenshot here. It basically just tells us what it is. There's nothing really to speculate here, but there is something I want to mention at the end of this video. We have one or two more screenshots left to cover in terms of information, so let's get on to that now. We will give you open access to everything in these games without need for hidden codes or memorization, so you'll be able to, you know, do a bunch of things, access specific characters or cheats and stuff, or codes I meant to say, like without having to memorize the codes. You'll be fine. How will you do that? That's a secret, but it won't be for long. We'll have much more to say about Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection later this year. Prepare yourself. So, not too much to uncover there, really. It's basically, that is the end here, so it's just the one that was left, and yeah, it seems like a lot more is going to be revealed later this year. Of course, I think it's safe to say that the 3 question marks or 4 question marks relating to the games that will be available in this collection will probably be revealed within the next month or 2, I would say, unless they want to leave it as like a surprise on launch. But I feel like we're going to get a decent amount more bit of information, because it's still, we know quite a lot now just from the one trailer and this little blog, but there's still a lot that we don't know, especially because most of us thought this was it, but it looks like there's going to be at least 3 or 4 more games involved. Hopefully the 3D era games, a lot of people are really optimistic about that. I hope it is, but I still think it will probably be like Gold, Trilogy, and then maybe some other versions I'm unaware of. But one thing I wanted to actually mention in this video is I have an idea as to when the games might come out. This one I haven't heard a lot of people talking about. My guess, and I think it's 50-50 whether or not it will come out on this day, I think it's probably going to release on October 8th, which I know is still a little bit away, but it gives them a bit of time, because we're in June now. That gives them about 5 months to release it, and usually like that's how long games take in terms of, or NetherRealm games, they usually announce it and then the game will come out 4, 5, 6 months later, so that makes sense for, you know, a time span. And yeah, I think it'll come out then, because for those who are unaware, that's when the original Mortal Kombat games came out in arcades. So thank you all for watching. Please consider subscribing and liking, sharing, doing all that stuff. It really helps me out. Leave a comment, of course, as well. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I hope you have a great day.